and welcome to the seventh edition of the Global Youth Interview Series. I'm Kushi Binani, and in today's episode, we'll be talking about the Cuban GDP figures, contraction by 23.9%. India's economy suffered its worst slump on record in April to June quarter, with the GDP contracting by 23.9%, as the COVID related lockdowns weighed on the already declining consumer demand and investment. A few important takeaways from here. Industry has been hit as expected, minus 39%, mining at minus 23%, trade, hotels, and services at stunning minus 47%, and construction at minus 50%. The saving grace is the agriculture, as was expected, with a positive 3.4%. By most estimates, this is the first time that Indian economy has seen such a contraction in the last 4 decades and is the first GDP decline since the country began publishing quarterly growth figures in 1996. In today's episode, we'll be analyzing Cuban GDP figures. Today we have with us Professor Vijay Kumar Kaul. He has been the Dean of Faculty of Applied Social Sciences and Humanities and the Head of Department of Business Economics, University of Delhi. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. My first question to you, sir, is that among the G20 countries, India's contraction has been the highest in the world by far. India already has a very low per capita income, and approximately 35 to 40% of the people they live below poverty line. So, what do you feel? That does this 23.9% drop in GDP mean that millions of people who live just above the poverty line will be directly pushed below the poverty line? Also, what will be its effect on our different socio-economic indicators?
You see that in case of India, it is very much visible because we had one of the very stringent lockdown in the world. We were among the first one to start also, and basically I think the government of India was having a very clear-cut idea that our infrastructure facilities are very poor, inadequate, and we are the second largest population in the world, say 1.3 billion people, and we know that even in terms of the every sixth person is living in the slum, and we know the slum areas conditions, and many people at that time also they were predicting that looking at the past experience of Spanish this disease also flew in 1918, 14, 15, that there was a large number of people died because of that. So I think because of all these experiences and informations, the government of India was very particular that they would like to avoid this type of situations. So at that time, I think it's very clear that no one was very much aware of that what will happen in the future, how long it will take to get the vaccine also. So all these things. So the way they imposed this stringent lockdown, it created a lot of problems. And we know that everything was closed down, no movements, all the factories except the healthcare workers, etc. So because of that, I think around it was more than 2 months. Nothing was happening except that this rural area was there, agriculture was there, some essential items and the healthcare facilities were open along with the digital and the telecoms services also. So I think it's very obvious, and that we are having a big fall in this quarter, but the things will improve in the coming days.
So, as you mentioned, that lockdown was the major reason that why this contraction actually happened. So what do you feel that did this lockdown help in any way? Because a lot of economy watchers locally and globally, they are just shaking their heads and saying, no, it wasn't worth it. So what do you feel that whether this lockdown was probably more harsher than it should have been, or was it at par with the level which was actually required in our country?
I think it's very difficult to judge. People are using. I remember that at the initial stage also many people were coming up with their models, and they were saying so many people will die, this and that. And if you compare with that also, we have been very lucky that our the fatality rate is very low. Though we have not been able to still flatten this curve also, it's still, I think after June there is a big jump in the number of corona cases also. It is happening, but I think it's very difficult to judge whether it is a good or bad. It's a judgment of the people, and we know that the people, ICMR peoples, the governments, bureaucrats, politicians, and they have taken a view of a number of experts. So it is not just a one person's or the government of the day. They are deciding everything. They are taking a views of advice of experts, and on the basis of that, they identified that this should be done. So it may come out to be not that say right, correct also. It may be very correct also that till initial stages people were saying by June so many people will die, it will have a millions and millions of people will be affected by that, and we know that it has not happened. Definitely after June, things are as the we have started opening up after June, so things are moving, and you see that ours is a say it's not a very disciplined people also. So when the government was saying so many things, people are not observing. We have seen that how this Jamaat people, the Markaz people, they were also moving out, and they also spread. Initially, it was very limited to the cities, and the people who were coming from outside, but very soon we learned that it was the Jamaat people, that they were moving out and they were going in a different corners, different areas, and they also spread. They were a super spreader also. So well, basically it's our own problem also. When we compare with other countries are, when we just look at the Taiwan, look at the other East Asian countries, they have been very cooperative. The public was aware of that these type of problems and how these problems will affect the society and the peoples. So they were cooperating with the government. But you look at our Indian economy, Indian peoples, they are not cooperating. Even now also, if you go in the markets, people are saying that you go in the shops, they will provide you the sanitizer, you use that, and you go to the market, you see what is happening. No such precautions are being taken. So it's our own problem. I think we need to learn about this, that whenever there is a crisis like this, we need to cooperate. It is not just a government that they can decide, especially in a country like us where we have one of the largest population in the world. It's a more than 1/6 of the world population. So it's a very large population. We need to be very cooperative. That is lacking in our country, and all these problems are all related to that.
Yes, sir. Like every policy or every decision of government has its own pros and cons. So let's move us to the third question then. So, sir, that's true that lockdown is one of the major reasons behind this figure. But at the same time, if we look at the trend of GDP in the pre-COVID era, we could see that GDP was positive, but it was also declining. So, what were the major reasons except this lockdown, which basically led to this contraction of GDP?
Yes, you are right. Basically, when we look at the pre-COVID period also, our economy was in a slowdown mood. There was a talk about that we need a structural reforms. Where there is some people were saying it's a cyclical issues, or it's a structural issues. I think it's a structural issues. The way we are moving, we need to look after there is a demand deficit also. So demand deficit basically is that the things, the consumer durable products and discretionary products, people are saying that the middle income groups, there is a saturation at that level. So if we are interested to increase the demand and accelerate the growth also, we need to look at the people at the bottom of the pyramids. So, and it's around 40% of the peoples. When you look at the different estimations, 40% of the peoples are like this. So we need to look at their demands, and we need to look at that how these people can be provided the product that they require, and how their income level can be improved, strengthened, and all these things. So I think there is a structural change is required even now also after this COVID also. You see that because of this, many people migrated, and unorganized sectors, and the people in a small SMEs areas and other areas. So income is affected badly. and it has also affected. Basically, earlier also the issue was there, the demand deficit, and now it has definitely further increase, because people are not having a money. Government is providing food, grains, and all these things. They are giving some cash payment, cash transfer also, but it is not enough. So I think now the issue is that the government should focus on that how to provide jobs to these peoples, and for that also there are many things that they need to do. Even the skill development is required and all these things. I have my own ideas about this, and it need to be combined. This rural economy, the digital economy, all these things need to be combined to take care of all this.
Thank you so much, sir. So, as you mentioned, that employment is one such sector where government needs to take efforts. So, could you just elaborate more sectors where government needs to take special attention at this particular moment, and at the same time, certain sectors which don't require hand holding, maybe right now, and we can basically deal with it later. So,
Yes, definitely. Basically, you see that when we look at the Indian economy, we were studying that this hotel industry, service industries, this tourism, travel, tourisms, all these were providing a lot of employment to the unskilled people also. And this particular, because of the COVID, this particular sector has collapsed completely. I think there is a need to look at the immediately to do something with for this also. And second is about the SME sectors. SME sector is also a big recruiters, and they are also, many of these SMEs units are closed. Some of these have started, but they are working on a not a full capacity also. So they have a lot of they were earlier also, they were working on a very marginal, say, even margins, very low margins. So because of all these things, I think there is a lot of issues that government need to support SME sector. Government need to support, to look at. Basically, people are saying because of this pandemic is continuing, there is a lot of uncertainty. So it will take time. Definitely, it will take time. But I think when we are to generate demand, we need to give employment to the people. We need to look at this sector also, that what type of infrastructure need we can fulfill, how much we can invest. The government, there are some very immediate requirements where the government should focus, but at the same time there are medium to long term also. Basically, infrastructure is very important. Government has already announced a national infrastructure pipeline to the extent of 1 lakh crore rupees, but the investment is not coming up. I think the issue is with the government also, because the government is also waiting that there should be some more clarity, that how long this pandemic will be there, how long that the vaccine will be available. So when some clarity will be there, I think they will take some more move. A second stimulus is also expected by the governments. So definitely this SME sectors, this manufacturing, this the services sectors, basically this hotel, restaurant, tourism, all these are very important, because they absorb, they employ large number of people. So there is a, basically all these sectors are all also very, it's a multiplier effect on the jobs. So we need to see that what we can do for these. The government is doing number of things, but we need to do something more, and immediately. Basically, there is a need to do something very fast in the immediate future. And something, I think the government's Atmanirbhar Bharat package is very useful. A lot of reforms has been initiated, but all these things will have an impact in the medium to long term. So immediately we need to do something to absorb these people, to create jobs, to give money to them, so that they start buying products, and it will have a big boost to the consumptions and all these things.
thank you so much, sir. Now, due to paucity of time, we can't take a lot many questions. So this would be our last question, and I hope that we have just covered the entire aspect. So my last question to you, sir, is that government has taken fiscal measures, and that's for sure. But at the same time, can the government strike its neck out and do a whole lot more fiscal? Should we go for borrowing or monetization? So what's the best way forward in this particular scenario?
In fact, I find that it is not just a this borrowing. Basically, the government's the total revenue has fallen. We know that because of the GST and other things, because there was no activities, and because of this pandemic also, we need some more money to invest also. So basically, the government revenue is less, more money is required for all these things. So basically, you see that a lot of money is required, and even for the stimulus and all these things, the fiscal government is very conservative. But it's not that they are not going to do all these things. So just saying that whether they can borrow, whether borrowing is required or say monetization is required, I think all these things are required. Basically, we require a lot of money. So it is a it's a government is to decide how much money they can borrow, how much money they can print, and even they can go for divestment. They can use lot of land parcels are there, so they can monetize that also. They can go for even the divestment divestment of the public sector shares also. So I think that all these areas need to be explored to raise resources. Lot of resources are required. So it's everything is required. Basically, we need to combine borrowing, this monetizations, even the printing also. Government need to keep aside the ideological issues that we should have this much of fiscal deficit, because it says crisis required a different type of measures also.
Thank you so much, sir. So, with this, we have come to the end of today's interview. On behalf of Global Youth, I would like to extend my warm regards to Professor Vijay Kumar Kaul for giving us your valuable time and for sharing with us and our audience valuable insights on the Cuban GDP figures. Thank you so much.